All right. Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. It is 11 o'clock, and we want to kick off and jump right in. I think there's probably a few more people, maybe a handful or two that are going to be joining us, so we'll let them roll in, and I just will kick off with our today's webinar, which is over what to expect and how to survive an OSHA inspection. Okay, so just to give a little brief background before we dive in, this course won't go over all the little details of what OSHA does when they show up and what you should expect them to do and all the little rules behind that. This webinar is really going to be designed to be able to give you something to take away to be able to prepare and survive the OSHA inspection, okay? So it's about more of what to do once it's happened and how to get through it, as well as how to prepare, which is actually the most important portion. So we're gonna jump right in. I'm the presenter. My name is Dan Deller, and I'm a certified safety professional and been practicing safety management and directing for about 21 years now. So I've been in the safety business for a very long time, and I've worked with and dealt with a lot of different situations with OSHA, from injuries, inspections, all kinds of stuff. Also, just a reminder, we do have one of our team members, one of our consultants on our team, used to be the OSHA compliance chief for the Western Bureau. So whenever we get into these situations that get really technical and involved, we like to get him involved and get him up to speed to be able to help support you guys and all of our clients, okay? So with any further ado, we're gonna jump right in. So you guys, most of you all know who we are. We're Progressive Safety Management. We also provide loss control services. So some of the people attending today are on our loss control side. So we work with insurance companies and represent them on that side. On the other side, we are a safety management services company, which really these webinars are designed for, are for these type of clients. But we do offer it open to anybody to really participate. I mean, safety's not a secret, and we're one big team, and we just want to be able to support everybody. So we do all kinds of stuff like risk control assessments, inspections, audits, training, of course, develop written programs. Also, we even have safety supplies and provide PPE, first aid kits, fire extinguishers on site, and other type of safety equipment, harnesses, all that kind of stuff for those full service clients that need those kind of a full service one-stop shop. So anyways, a little bit about us for those of you who aren't that familiar, and to all the services that we do offer and provide. So let's jump into the objectives. What are we here and what do we want to gain from today? First off, we do want you guys to understand the consequences of an OSHA non-compliance. And then we want you to understand the different types of OSHA inspections. As I mentioned, I won't really spend too much time on a lot of this upfront stuff because I want to spend most of the time towards the later half of this, which will be a little bit more about the OSHA inspection process. Your rights during an OSHA inspection, okay, which is very important to know, so you know what you can do and what you can't do and what you can get away with. Also, what to do during an OSHA inspection. This is probably the most important piece. This is really where I want you guys to. This is the value. This is the takeaway. It's how to prepare for an OSHA inspection, okay? Because that's going to help set you up for surviving an OSHA inspection. All right, so before we do that, let's talk about some basic facts. Okay, these numbers are the 2018 numbers for both the federal and state OSHA inspections that occurred in 2018. So for those of you who most of you who know, there's federal OSHA, and then some states, not all states, but there's a large majority of the U.S. states have their own state OSHA plan. Okay, which allows the state to operate their own OSHA program underneath the federal program, which kind of gets the federal OSHA out of the state's business and lets the state enforce it, which can be a good thing, and kind of a bad thing sometimes. But in most cases, it can actually be a good thing, especially on the OSHA inspection and citation side. There's a lot of benefits for that, and I'll touch on those as we go through this. But in 2018, there were 73,013 inspections done across the U.S. Right, and of those 73,000, there were 163,536 citations were issued. Okay, that is a lot of citations that were issued. Out of all of those citations, there was more than $422 million in citations were written. Okay, that is an incredibly large amount of money. So put yourself in the perspective of being a company in the U.S. and what does that look like? I mean, there's a lot of inspections going on a daily basis. And what that looks like is that comes out to an average of 200 inspections are being done a day. Okay, so it's not looking at yourself as an employer. It's not about if an OSHA inspection is going to happen. It's more about when it's going to happen, because it will happen. All right. Of each of those inspections, the average is about 2.25 citations are written per inspection that occurs. Now, I want to put these numbers in perspective. These averages for the number of inspections done a day. To put that in perspective, that number is probably higher because I divided the number of inspections divided by 365. And I mean, these are government people, right? And I mean, they got like 10, 20 days of vacation a year. Federal holidays are all over the place. And I mean, we know they really don't work a whole lot. So really we're talking that number is probably much higher. The other thing, for the number of citations, that average, I also just went straight numbers again. Okay, I will say that there's a lot of inspections, not a majority, but there's a good number of inspections that go on that don't result in a citation. Okay, so it is very possible, and that's the goal we want to strive for, is to, when the inspection happens, is that we do survive it and we walk away with 0 citations, and we're one of those. That's where we want to be. Okay, so that number probably, for those inspections that end up with 1 citation, the actual average is probably higher than 2.5 citations per inspection. They're probably, from what we see from new clients that we get, or those clients that we do support, that end up getting OSHA citations, we see on an average anywhere from 5 to 15 citations that can get put down. A smaller percentage can go up to, we've seen 30. Okay. Now, a lot of them are related to the same thing. For example, like lockout tagout. If you have one lockout tagout issue, usually they're going to hit you for like 5 to 6 other lockout tagout issues, training, annual certifications, all kinds of stuff. So it's usually one category bundled with a whole bunch of other citations. So I just want to put that a little bit in perspective, okay? That most of this stuff is a lot higher. So what are the consequences of non-compliance? All right, the first one is obviously injuries. Okay, these are the things that we think about. We want to meet OSHA compliance. We want to exceed OSHA compliance because we want to prevent injuries. Okay, and that's really the biggest consequence to not providing a safe workplace. With the injuries come medical bills. Okay, things are going to hit our bottom line as a company. The next will be productivity loss. And when injury happens, we often have to stop. And if we stop, we're not getting work done. We can't continue to move the project forward, or we can't continue to make widgets, or we got to stop providing services. And so we lose productivity, which again starts moving back towards our bottom line. So we want to keep that going and prevent those injuries. The other is employee replacement costs. If someone gets injured and they're going to be out for a week or a month, we might need to backfill that with a new employee. And it's going to take time to find the person. It's going to take time to train them. It's going to take time to get them integrated and getting even running up to full speed. I mean, that could take, a few days, weeks. Sometimes might even take a few months to get them working at the levels of that the person who was injured was operating at. Okay, so there's a lot of hidden costs in there. The other is going to be employee morale. If we have a lot of injuries going on, employees are going to be a little more reluctant, a little more scared to work, and then morale is just going to kind of come down, and with that it affects quality, productivity, all those other things, as well as safety. So, but what other kind of consequences are there from OSHA non-compliance? And that's the OSHA citation. But with the OSHA citation comes a productivity loss. If we have OSHA comes out, what happens? Sometimes work completely stops when they're doing an investigation, or it slows down. It's going to take resources, management out of, away from doing what they need to do, and now they need to give OSHA 100%, attention. OSHA wants to interview people, and so now they got to stop doing their work, and so there's a big loss in productivity just with OSHA's inspection and citation, because citations aren't just going to come with a fine. They're going to come with actions that you must complete. That's going to probably take away from your productivity. Public image hurt. Okay, OSHA citations, they hit the street. I mean, they're published publicly. You can go on OSHA's website and look them up. You can, if you haven't, go on to OSHA's website and look up your company name or a company you've previously worked for. This is, if you didn't know that, I mean, a lot of people may not know that, but you'll also be surprised that even for those who do know it, when they go work for new employers, a lot of times they look that up and come into interview with some of those armed questions saying, hey, see, you've had these types of injuries and these types of citations, what have you done about it? Or, and they kind of will look at you to say, is this a safe working company? It may end up in the newspaper, okay? And so it could hurt your public image. Employee morale, again, you have to do a lot of, you have to post it, you have to tell employees about it, when OSHA's walking around. It can make employees really nervous as well, and won't keep their mind focused on what they're doing. So OSHA citations and their presence and inspections can definitely have an impact on work in a company. The other is going to be the obvious one: penalty costs. Okay, these citations can be very expensive. One of the others, if for those companies that do contracting type work, it can have the effect to affect the potential to bid, okay, in the future, or even for those other companies that work with other companies, like business to business, it can also affect them, especially for companies working for like the really big companies, BMW, Duke Energy, Tyson Foods. They all require review of past OSHA citations, OSHA rates, EMR numbers, and they all put those into an equation, and it can affect your ability to even partner with them or provide them products and services. Okay, so if we can't bid and if we can't work with other companies, it could eventually affect the entire business, and we might not be able to go on. All right, and here's the penalty costs. Some of these maximum citations can be anywhere from $13,000 just for one. Each year, these are increasing. OSHA was approved a number of years ago to raise their OSHA citations to follow along with inflation. Okay, so they update them every January. So these are the updated numbers for 2019, and I'll break this down a little bit later on. But that's how expensive one citation can be. So I've already mentioned this, but overall, consequences of OSHA non-compliance and citations affects the bottom line. I mean, it'll affect the future success of your business. All right. As I mentioned, your OSHA rates, if they're too high, or if we have these citations, it may prevent you from bidding or working with other companies. And maybe even if they're not extremely high, other companies do compare them to other contractors and other vendors that they want to work with, and they will put preferred statuses to those who have low OSHA rates, low injuries, and low citations, because those are based on performance and history, those are the companies they want to work with, because they don't want to bring attention and fines and injuries to themselves. So these companies, more and more every single day, are starting to realize that they should look at these things, and it's starting to affect business-to-business type relationships. Okay, insurance costs, of course. The more injuries, the more citations, all these things will drive insurance costs up, and overall they'll affect the bottom line and the profit margins. Okay, it'll start to eat it up, and maybe eventually you may not even be able to be in business one day, because it just costs too much. So, so now that we've talked a little bit about the consequences, got a good understanding of why, what the penalties are if we don't address OSHA standards and don't follow them. Then we have a good understanding there. I want to start turning the conversation and moving through that progression into the actual OSHA inspections themselves. I want to introduce them to you by first talking about the different types of OSHA inspections. All right. So there are different priorities that OSHA puts on inspections. Okay. The first priority is going to be imminent danger. So if an OSHA compliance officer, they take an oath, and they have one of their first responsibilities is, no matter if they're on vacation, if it's after work, if it's a Sunday and they're with the family and they're headed to church, and they drive by a workplace or a work site and they see an imminent danger type situation, somebody working at a height and isn't tied off, or someone working in an excavation, that's above their head and has zero protection right along the side of the road, if they see those type things, they are required to stop immediately and to address the issue and correct it, as well as then initiate an inspection. Now, that inspection may not be that they're going to complete it today, but they are required to make it safe, stop the work, and then they will make that determination. Do they, knock it out real quick, or do they come back and complete a more thorough, complete inspection at a later time? So imminent danger is the first one. Just know that if that you don't have to pop up on a list for them to do this. They have the responsibility to stop if they see an imminent danger situation. The other is going to be for severe injuries. So if you've had a severe injury, and a loss of eye, amputation, a death, they will initiate an inspection. Okay. They can do this in a few different forms, and we will talk about that here in a bit. The other is going to be workers' complaints. So OSHA has an 800 number. You can even go on their website and fill out a form if you're an employee of a company. Anybody can make a complaint. They can say, hey, I feel that there's an unsafe work area here. There's unsafe electrical cords and outlets, fall protection hazards, dusty environments, and they can be pretty vague. And when OSHA receives these complaints, they have the responsibility again to follow up. And they can follow up in a few different ways, and I'll mention those again here in a bit. But they're important for us to know that as employers, because that's part of our preparation. There's things that we can do now to help prevent worker complaints. And if we can prevent worker complaints, we can prevent OSHA from coming and doing an inspection. If we can prevent them from doing an inspection, we can prevent citations. So it's about us realizing that, and so I don't want to get into the weeds on this one, but we want to prevent workers from complaining to OSHA. So typically, reasons why they do that is sometimes it's just a disgruntled employee and wants to just cause havoc. The second, that's the first one. The second one is that they don't know how to communicate it, or they're afraid to communicate it to the employer. So maybe it's a supervisor issue. They feel that they can't tell you or tell somebody about it because of retaliation or whatever it is, whether it really exists or not. If there's a concern that the fear is there, this could cause them to go report it that way. So, create systems that enables employees to do this anonymously within your company and communicate that to them over and over again. Please come to us first. Okay. I also wouldn't promote that they can report these things to OSHA. That's not a good strategy. Don't let them know about it if they don't know about it. All right. So just encourage it to go through your own organization. That will help start to cut down on those. But if it does happen, I'll talk about how to address those later on. Okay. The other is going to be referrals. All right. So let's say the city's out there, or another EPA's out there, or some other sort of agency is out there, or a doctor, a hospital. Okay. If they get an injury and someone lost an eye, they can be referred. They can make referrals to OSHA. Okay. If the city's out there doing stormwater prevention, whatever, and they see someone working at heights, looks someone's going to get injured or become seriously, or maybe death, they can make referrals to OSHA. So just know that also other companies, other agencies can call up OSHA and make referrals. There's national and regional and even state emphasis programs. There's for all those different levels, OSHA has emphasis programs. Those are typically they're all public, and I'll look them up. There are things for fall protection. These are the most common categories: fall protection, excavation trenching, silicon right now. There's a bunch of them. So if you want to know more about that, feel free to reach out to us. We'll get you set up to let you know which ones apply to your company, so we can become more aware of it. Basically, if your company does any of these, combustible dust, that's another one I want to mention. That's another emphasis program. So they're identifying these type of companies that do these things, and they're prioritizing, we should go do inspections in these high-risk areas. The next one's going to be targeted and programmed. This is the random list. Okay, see how far down the random list is? It's pretty far down. And so after they've done all of those ones above that, then they get to the random. So OSHA sets out each year a goal of what they're going to do for random inspections. And they take all of these all the companies in their area, and they run a random generator number. Whether it's really random or not, we'll never know. We'll never be able to find out and really ever challenge, is it random or not. But the point is, it's supposed to be random. And then if your name pops up, they're going to come do it. Okay. Then there's going to be follow-up. So if you've had a serious injury, if you've had serious OSHA citations, they may schedule a follow-up inspection. Okay. So those are the different types. This is what I was going to mention on how they could be done. Sometimes for those employee complaints, they may do a phone, fax, or mail investigation. Okay. We're not going to touch too much on this, but I do want to make you aware you may get something in the mail that says, hey, there's been a formal complaint on blah, 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 and we're going to initiate an investigation, and just please provide your response by mail. Okay, so they can do an investigation through mail. Basically, what they're trying to do is validate and see if there actually is a problem before they come out. If they do this, it's because they're heavily overloaded with all of those other higher priority type investigations, fatalities, imminent danger, severe injuries, all of that stuff. And so they might do that, especially if it's for, a very vague or not severe type complaint. Okay. The second one is going to be the on-site inspection, and that's the one we want to focus on for today. Okay. So during that process, what's going to happen is OSHA, they're going to prepare. All right. This is a really important piece for us to know. Okay, is that OSHA knows that they're going to come inspect you before you do, right? So, and what are they doing? They're going to go prepare. They're not just going to show up and go, oh, hey, so what is it that you do here? And I mean, they're doing all the research. They've gone back. They've looked at other similar companies to yours, and they've looked at past citations. If a citation has ever been issued, it can be reissued again, just like in a court of law, because all of these citations will eventually need to stand up in a court of law. So just like you see, when a judge actually finally rules on something and it stands up in a court of law, it gets reused over and over and over again for justification in the ruling. So the same thing, OSHA will go, okay, we have company XYZ, and they do this type of industry. They'll go and they'll pull up all those other similar companies, and they'll see what other type of citations have been issued. They'll see what type of work you do. They're going to learn as much as they can about you, and they're going to come in with a game plan. They already know what they want to look at. They already know where they want to go, and so the key part here is that we should prepare. And we can't, we're typically on our heels because we don't know the inspection's coming. But there'll be some things that we can do ahead of time to prepare. Since OSHA's going to have a game plan, we need to have a game plan. And at the end of this, that's the takeaway that I want to give you guys, is a way to make a game plan. All right? So at the end of the day, they're going to prepare. Once they prepare, they're going to show up and they're going to say, hello, I'm OSHA. I'm a compliance officer. I'm here to do an inspection. Okay? They should present their credentials. If they don't, ask for them. Say, can I see some ID? Can I see your government, OSHA official credentials? Then they should present them to you. Once they've done that, they'll have an opening conference. Okay? They'll sit down. They'll tell you why they're there. If they don't tell you why they're there, ask them. If they're there for an employee complaint, ask to see it. If they're there for a routine, okay, it is what it is. If they're there for, imminent danger, ask. I'll go into more detail about that later here in a bit. But again, there should be an opening conference before they do anything. After they do an opening conference, they're going to want to do a walk around. They're going to want to go look at whatever it is that they came there to look at, whether it's focused, whether it's a complaint, whether it's a comprehensive. Okay, they're going to want to do a walk around. They're also going to do some formal interviews. They're going to interview employees. They're going to interview managers. All right. Then after that, they're going to have a closing conference. Okay, they should kind of recap. They're not going to have a lot of detail, but they should have a closing conference, and you should be able to, at that time, start asking them what they're currently looking at. Okay, what's on their list of what they think the citations are going to be, what the alleged issues are. Okay, so the next is going to be, I want to talk about, is the citation. So once they go and they have this closing conference, they're going to go back to their office. Okay, they took during this time, they took photos, they took video, they wrote down all kinds of stuff. They got all these interviews, they got all this information, tons of data, right? And what they're going to do is they're going to sit in their office, and they have 6 months from the day they did that inspection to issue a citation. 6 months. You might not hear anything for a very long time, and then all of a sudden, on the last day, get hit with an OSHA citation. They can do that. Also, during that time, they can go talk with whoever they want, and their buddies and their coworkers, and look at other things, and things that maybe they didn't even notice or catch can all of a sudden be identified and caught at a later time, and all of a sudden now you get a citation on it, and you weren't even aware of it during the closing conference. Okay, so I just want to put that out there that they have 6 months to do it, which is a very long time from the post of the inspection. Okay, after the 6 months and you haven't heard anything, you can be feeling pretty confident you're not, and that you can exercise and stand by that 6-month deadline. Okay. Now, if you do get a citation, and if and when they issue a citation, it'll describe the OSHA requirements, and I want to be very clear here that they are that you allegedly violated. At this time, they're still allegedly. It's their word against yours still. Even though they issue a citation, still doesn't mean it's going to stick on the wall. So it's the alleged violation. Okay. When they go to do this, they issue your citation, they should pick up the phone and they should have let you know it's coming and be able to give you all the facts about the citations that are coming. At that time, they already know what's in the citation, and you should be able to ask them details about it. So I would ask them all the details. Okay, and then they'll send then they will send the citations in a certified mail. Okay, so you'll get them in the mail, be certified. Once you have that, there'll be some more requirements and some more instructions for you to do. But the most important key at this point is that they are alleged violations. So don't get defensive. That's the hardest part here. Even during the inspection, don't get defensive. Don't get upset. Don't admit anything. Because if we do, or if we're telling OSHA, yeah, we don't do this, you just gave them everything they needed. You admitted to not doing something. So if you aren't doing it, don't admit it. Don't even acknowledge it. Don't deny it, or just don't. If they say something, you don't need to answer anything. And so at this point, just listen, take the notes, and wait for the certification to come in the mail. All right. Also, there'll be a list of all the proposed penalties, so you can get the dollar amounts at that time. They'll give you an idea of what that number looks like for each of the citations. Also, the citations give the deadlines for correcting it. So inside the citation, it'll say, you didn't, have a lockout tagout procedure, so we need to have it one developed by this time. So it'll give you a deadline. There's there's all kinds of more details to go into the OSHA citations and stuff, but I wanted to give you the quick heavy hitters because I want to focus more on the preparing side. So there's different categories. You have willful, those are your most serious. Then you have serious category, other than serious, de minimis, failure to abate, and then you have repeated. Okay, so those are the different citation categories that you can get. Repeat is extremely serious. It's just as serious as willful, and as well as serious. So those top three are willful, serious, and repeated, or you don't want those kind. So if you can knock them down from there, that's the goal. Try to knock them down to a lower level. All right, so let's talk about the penalties. Here they are. These are the federal maximums. All right, so if you get a serious or other than serious, you're looking at about $13,000 per violation. Remember the averages? 2.25, and it's probably higher for those who get one citation. The average is probably higher, so that could be very expensive very quickly. If you have a willful or repeated, those are going into 6 figures. Very expensive. Okay. Now the good news is a lot of the state plans, they were forced to adopt the maximum penalties, but most state programs try to give discounts and breaks to their own, state companies and give you discounts and all of that type of stuff, especially for small employers. Those are all hidden things. They'll never tell you about them. You need to know to ask for them. So if you ever get into these types of situations, please get us involved. I mean, it's part of the service that we provide to you, is that, we're there if OSHA shows up. We want to be part of this entire process, so we can navigate through it successfully. Okay. Employers' rights. So what are your rights? You have the right to refuse to permit an OSHA compliance officer from entering your premises. So OSHA comes up and says, hey, I'm here to do an OSHA inspection. Doesn't mean you have to let them in. You can say no. Okay. Now, if you say no, they'll say, okay, well, we'll be back with a warrant. And sometimes that's okay to do because it can buy you time. If you know that you are not ready and you know that you're going to have some serious violations, it's okay to say, no, don't come back, because it's not going to make it any worse. Now, when they come back, they're probably going to be upset. They're probably going to be harsher on you. But if you know you need time to get a lockout tagout procedure put in place, or you need to conduct training because you know you're going to get thousands of dollars in citations or tens of thousands of dollars in citations, it may be worth it, because that OSHA compliance officer will have to leave. They will have to make a written case. They'll have to submit it to their supervisor. It'll have to be approved by their supervisor. They're going to have to go to the attorney, the general attorney. They're going to have to get it approved, and they're going to have to get a warrant issued. And that warrant is going to have to be issued for a certain day and a certain time. And they have to come back, and they have to, and they'll have to serve it. Okay, that could buy you up to a week, if not sometimes more. Okay, if not maybe a few days, but in general we see somewhere around a weekish. So that can be very helpful. You know, we don't want to be there in that situation, but do just want to make you aware that you do have the right to not let them in. Okay, I'm not encouraging it by any means, but you do have the right. An employer, the employer has, you have the right to have a representative from the company, so accompany the compliance officer. So don't just let them have free reign. You know, we should go with them. You have the right to have someone attend. Now, it doesn't mean have 10 company people following them around. You know, be reasonable. One or two company officials following them around. And then also the employees have the right to have a representative. So, you know, so that way the employees can be aware of what's going on. It doesn't mean, again, a group of employees, but, you know, have one representative participate if that's what you want. You have the right to do that. You also have require the compliance officer to follow your rules and wear the appropriate PPE. So if you say that you need to wear a hard hat and steel-toed boots and a safety vest, then they must do that. They're required to do that. You can make them. You can say, no, sorry, these are our standards. This is what we do here, and you can't go into these areas unless you follow these rules and you wear this PPE. Okay, you can make them do that and make them do it. Take the same photos they take. So if they're taking a photo, you better be taking a photo. Take it from the same angle. Take it and make sure you take it from the same perspective. If you're unclear what they took a photo of, ask them. They must tell you. Conduct a side. So if they're going to sample for the area of like silica sampling or dust sampling, you want to make sure that you do the same exact sampling. Okay. So if you know they're going to come do silica dust sampling and they have a pump ready to rock that day, and you don't have a pump and you want a pump, you can request to wait until you have the equipment to do it. Now, whether they'll allow you to wait, it might be all dependent on how long they're going to let you wait. But again, hopefully, if they're you got a good OSHA compliance officer and they're not upset and frustrated, they should work with you to honor that, because you do have that right to conduct side-by-side sampling. We do highly suggest that if they're going to do silica sampling, you do the same. Because if they have results that say one thing and you have results that say another, it makes it very questionable in a court of law. If they have all the answers and all the results and you have zero, how do you defend yourself in a court of law and push back on a citation? Same thing with the photos. Same thing with interview statements, okay? So employees, they may decline to be interviewed, okay? So they don't, if OSHA says they want to interview that employee and the employee says thanks but no thanks, I prefer not to. OSHA cannot make them and you cannot make them. They are allowed to decline. Okay, so that might be a good thing to let employees know. You may not want to encourage it, but say, hey, you know what? We have an OSHA inspection. We just want you to know that you don't have, and they want to interview you. We just want you to know you don't have to accept the interview. Okay. Also, if they do come in for a complaint, you have request a copy of the complaint. Okay, right from the opening conference. If we say, hey, OSHA, why are you here? And they say, oh, we're here because of an employee complaint. You have the right to request a copy of it. Now, it may not have the person's name in it because they're allowed to do it anonymously, or they're allowed to say that I don't want to provide my name. They're allowed to do that, but you should be able to see the complaint, everything that they're looking at. Okay. So tips for during an inspection: be cooperative. This is a hard one. Okay, they're coming into your house. These are your hard work, sweat, tears. It's your safety program. You're proud of everything there, and if they're coming in for an employee complaint or something, and because of he can just put you on the defense. And I just stress to try to separate the two as much as you can. Be very cooperative. Be polite. Don't get defensive. Don't deny anything. Don't try to justify anything. Just cooperate. Okay. Be supportive of their mission. All right, that you share, and let them know that you share the same mission, and you seek to improve and correct and identify issues. So if it's an employee complaint and they say, the real response becomes, whoa, one of our employees called you or emailed you saying that we have an unsafe condition. We take that very seriously here. Safety is extremely important to us. And if one of our employees thinks that there's a safety concern, we want to know about it. We're going to launch an investigation immediately. We want to know, we want to get to the bottom of this too. We're on the same side, OSHA, right? That's the perspective that we should take. And it's typically not our first reaction. So it's going to be a hard one, but try to think about that and try to, because again, 99% of the time, it's probably a disgruntled employee. It's probably not 99. It's probably like somewhere like 80% of the time. It's a disgruntled employee. And then about, 19% of the time, it's a misinformed employee who just didn't understand, or, the hazard actually just doesn't exist. And then the 1% of the time is, it probably does exist or something like that. So don't hesitate to seek assistance. So if you need legal assistance or occupational, or us or other outside sources, don't hesitate to get assistance and tell them that you want to involve them on it. OSHA should respect that as well. If an issue is identified, correct it as soon as possible. Don't wait. So if you're walking around with OSHA and they see something, don't walk past it. Get someone else on it. Don't, keep moving, but call somebody to take care of the issue and correct it. Okay? Don't say you're correcting it because you realize it is an issue. Just say, okay, if OSHA says, hey, that's unsafe, blah, 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 say, all right, we'll get someone on it to take a closer look at it and to look into correcting it. Okay, and then continue moving on, and then that way, you didn't admit anything, but it's getting taken care of. That way, they aren't going to hit you for ignoring it. All right, be open, but not too open. That's a hard one. What do you mean by that, Dan? You said be open, but what do you mean? Don't be too open. You just don't give them the keys to the kingdom. So if they ask for training records, don't give them all your training records. Ask them, say, what training records? Be specific. And if they say, we want fall protection training records or lockout training records, say, for who? Who do you want the training records for? Okay? And then only give them what they need. Don't give them any more. If you give them all their training records, remember, they have 6 months to go back to their office and start looking into stuff. And they'll be like, oh, look over here. We're not doing hazard communication training. Boom, and they weren't even looking at hazard communication. All of a sudden, you're getting a citation for not doing hazard communication training. Okay, so again, be open, don't hide anything, but don't be too open. So when they do ask for stuff, push them to become more specific, because they will be very, very vague up front. They'll say, "Give me your OSHA logs." Say, "What for? What location? For what years? Which ones? Do you want the 300A or do you want the 301s? Don't give them everything. Push on them. Make them become specific. Listen carefully to everything they say. Okay. If you're unclear on what they meant or what they said, or if you want clarification, ask them to explain it in detail. Take notes. If they're writing something down, you better be writing it down. If you're not sure what they wrote down, ask them. Request specific information supporting the alleged violation. Okay, so if they say that there's a violation or the alleged violation, ask them, be specific. What information do you have that supports that? Give it to me. I want to see it. Do not argue with the compliance officer over the alleged violation. Again, they're alleged violations. So just keep your cool, swallow your pride and just take it. And then we'll go back and plan a defense. We'll plan to get through it. In most cases, a lot of OSHA citations will never stand up in a court of law. We may be able to just get them thrown out, but we just keep calm. Let's get the official documents and go from there. And this is the hardest one. Thank them. All right. As much as you might not want to thank them for coming in and creating all these problems and issues, just try. All right. So we're coming into the last 15 minutes here, and this is where we're getting down into the important stuff. All right. So remember, OSHA's coming in with a plan. So we need to make a plan. So I want to talk about preparing for the inspection. We need to be proactive. In order to be proactive, we need to prepare. Let's make a game plan. So for most of all of our full service clients that are on here, we develop and manage our complete safety, written safety program. Inside those programs, there is an OSHA inspection process. Okay, it's something to give you a tool in your sites and your locations, the tools to look up and to see what that process looks like. It tells the manager, whoever gets it, what should I do? They just showed up. It'll walk them through step by step. But we should look at those and see if we need to, for each individual company, make any changes or tailor them and review them often and make sure that everyone in the field is familiar with those, right? We need to make a plan. So make sure the process is a good written process, all right? And also a notification plan. So if they do show up on site, we should already have a call tree and know who they're going to call and notify to let them know. At what point are you going to call us? We want to know as soon as we can so we can get out there and get involved, okay? Additionally, we want to be prepared. If you don't have a written safety program, make sure you get that done. Okay. For those of who are attending that aren't our full service type clients, so make sure you have your safety programs. Make sure you have your training records and your certifications ready to go. Make sure you have all those records for that. Make sure you have your inspection records. Make sure you have your OSHA 300 logs. Make sure you have your chemical inventory and hazard communication, your safety data sheets. Make sure those are available. Now, these in bold with the stars are the most important. Those are typically going to be the first things they ask for, not the thing in green. It's going to be the ones with stars. So they're going to say, we want to see your safety program. We want your training records. We want your inspection records, your OSHA logs, your safety data sheets. Those are typically going to be the big items that they go to first. After that, signage and posters. So do you have your labor law posters? Are they posted? And then after that, this is just more general, right? We want to make sure we have no unsafe conditions and no unsafe behaviors. So all of those things in bold, those are things we could go take care of right now. And we can go around and check all of our sites and all of our locations and ask those questions. Do we have those? Are they ready to go? And then after that, then it becomes just a day-to-day management standpoint. Make sure there's no unsafe conditions and make sure there's no unsafe behaviors, right? So here's more on how we need to prepare for the inspection. So we need to anticipate, all right? So one of the first things is know what can trigger an OSHA inspection. We talked about that, okay? So, that's why we talked about employees can make complaints and they can trigger an OSHA inspection. So if we know that, we can anticipate that. Let's start making plans to communicate and make sure that all of our employees know that they can come to us and tell us about something that they might be uncomfortable about or they think is an unsafe condition or a hazard. If they do that, hopefully they won't go to OSHA. Have an OSHA inspection plan, all right? If you don't have one, make sure you do. If we do have one, make sure everybody knows about it, where it's at, how to use it. Number 3, train key personnel on the OSHA inspection plan, okay? So when OSHA shows up in the parking lot, even before they get in the parking lot, anything they see, anything they hear, anything that's going on around them can be included in the OSHA inspection before they even introduce themselves to you. So if you have a construction site, if you have a plant or a facility, make sure you control access to those areas and they're not just wide open and anyone can walk in, anyone like OSHA, can just walk in freely and walk around all by themselves and do whatever. Try to control all visitors into one central control point. When they get into that control point, make sure that it's not on the far end of the job and they got to walk through the entire job or through the entire facility. Because as they're doing that, if they see anything, you can get a citation for it before they even introduce themselves, before they even have an opening conference, okay? So we need to train key personnel on how to funnel them into the areas we want to funnel them, and then also what the employer responsibilities are, what the communication plan is, what to expect. We need to train the key personnel on to take the photos, to do the sampling. We need to train them on all of those steps, okay? That way we know that we'll be consistent throughout the entire company if OSHA shows up. Conduct an OSHA mock inspection. Very helpful. You know, these are things we do for you guys. I mean, so let's get out there and do OSHA mock inspections. You know, because these are freebies. You know, let's not wait for OSHA to come tell us what we didn't know. Let's go find out what we don't know now, so we can correct it for free now. And so if and when OSHA shows up, they're not finding something that we didn't recognize and didn't already know about. Well, we should have. So again, if you haven't, let's get out there, conduct an OSHA mock inspection. You know, these are things you guys can do internally. These are things you let us know when we get out there and do. I know from one of our full service clients, we do these regularly, monthly, multiple times a month, those types of things. So they're ongoing. Okay. So if we're not there, let's get into shape. So complete a self-assessment. That might be the first thing. And I gave you guys I put together a little simple checklist for that, which we'll get into on the next slide. But get out there and complete a self-assessment. You know, do we have our written programs? Do we have our safety data sheets, our training records, all of that stuff? All right. Utilize additional resources. Okay. You know, your loss control consultant, your safety consultants, that's us. You know, get us involved, get us engaged. You know, if or other third-party consultation. Complete an OSHA mock inspection, and then once we do that, from all of those things above, we should develop a safety improvement plan. So we should be tracking these things on more of a detailed level. A lot of what we have for our our full service safety clients. We start off with a safety improvement plan, but that's from a big picture. I'm talking about from more of a local level, you know, from site to site, from job to job, facility to facility. You know, when we do an OSHA mock inspection, they're going to be much more details, a lot more in the weeds. So that's what we're going to want to do is develop an improvement plan at that really small, you know, in the weeds type improvement plan. You know, let's go and get those things corrected. Okay, so after we identify opportunities, let's make a plan. Once we make the plan, implement the plan. All right. Once we've implemented the plan, you just kind of repeat. Okay, start over at the beginning. You know, so we go back out and relook at it because, you know, you could always miss and overlook something. You know, what was there today or what wasn't there yesterday could be there tomorrow, and so on and so forth. What we corrected yesterday may show up again next week. Okay, so that's why we want to make sure we just continue to repeat this process. So here's the survival checklist. All right. And I'll be sure to, those who attended today, to send out the I got a nice little checklist for y'all to use. Just to throw out there, send to your sites, get the conversation going on all this. But you can check off these boxes. We have our safety programs. Are they complete? Our safety programs, are they readily available? They should be readily available and they should be on site. So if OSHA shows up and they ask for them, boom, here you go. Training records and certifications, are they readily available? They should be. It's required by OSHA that these records are readily available. Okay. And for our full service, we maintain all of these things and they are readily available through our safety management software. You have access, or you call us and we email them over too, and so they are always readily available to all the sites. We'll get them there. But let's see, inspection records, make sure that those are also readily available on site, and your OSHA 300 logs, make sure they're maintained, that they're posted as required, and that they're also readily available. Make sure you have your signs and your posters for your OSHA labor laws. Make sure those are all posted and they're current. That's another one. Make sure your chemical inventory lists are maintained and available at all times. Make sure that unsafe conditions are prevented and corrected as soon as possible. Okay. And the last one, now behaviors. So we talked about conditions and we have employee behaviors. So make sure that all unsafe and at-risk behaviors are not taken by employees. All of these things right here will, hopefully help you survive an OSHA inspection. Okay. Some additional resources that are out there. Again, first and foremost, that's what we're here for. We're consultants. We're partners. We're just as much in this as you are. So, use us first and foremost. The next one is that there's a OSHA fact sheet out there. There's a link to there. That fact sheet goes over the inspections, okay, in more detail, talks a lot about the information that's included in this presentation. OSHA employer rights and responsibilities, there's a link to it. So, again, all that information is included in here, but that link will take you to the OSHA publication on it for what the employer rights and responsibilities are. OSHA, what to expect during an OSHA visit, there's some more information. There's the penalties link. And then also OSHA is another opportunity. If you want to invite OSHA into your house to do a free inspection, you can. They'll do it. But I'll also say that anything they identify, and they will, you must provide corrective actions and document it, provide that back to OSHA that you did something about it. If not, you'll end up with citations. So again, you can use it as a free service, but also, of course, that's what we're here for. So we can go do that for you. Any questions? You guys have our course information, contact information, email, give us a call. Let me know if you have any questions. After this, I'm going to send out a little survey from SurveyMonkey. It's like 8 questions, I think. Please fill it out. In there, I want to know if this was a good value, who else it might be a good value for, as well as other topics you want to see in these webinars. These webinars are completely free for you guys, and they have a monthly. Also, if you feel any of the topics that are coming up that are beneficial to anyone else in the company, just send it to them. Get it out there. They can just register. Like I said, it's free. They're going to register. They can attend anywhere on their phone, on their tablet, on their computer. Also, these are recorded and they'll be posted to the client, our client safety portal. Okay, so you can go back, and watch old webinars, pull them up. So our future ones, accident investigation, all those other ones that are coming up, are ones that we've done previously. If you missed it, not a big deal. You can go back and watch the recording. Okay. Well, this concludes our hour. It's 12 o'clock. I just really want to thank you for everything you do. Thanks for participating. Thanks for your support and everything you do for safety. Again, happy Friday, and have a great weekend. Thanks, everybody.